Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I have a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your book?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I'm MT Khan and I'm the author of Nura and the Immortal Palace. So, my book, Nura and the Immortal Palace, is a middle grade contemporary fantasy and it follows a 12-year-old girl named Nura who basically works as a mica miner in my home country of Pakistan. But one day the mines collapse and her best friend is proclaimed dead. But Nura refuses that outcome and she digs deeper in the mines to search for him. But instead of finding her best friend, she finds a portal to a realm full of these trickster beings called jinn. So Nura will have to outsmart these jinn and figure out a way to escape the jinn realm if she wants to save her best friend.
It is so fun. I love middle grade like this, journey, high stakes, contemporary fantasy. It is my jam. So this isn't in the questions that I sent, but what's it been like debuting in 2022?
It's just been like such a huge whirlwind and something that I never really expected before. And I think, compared to the last, 2.5 years in the pandemic, I feel like super privileged just to be able to like go
Mm.
out and see my book in stores because I know a lot of authors didn't get to have that experience. And I really, really wish that they did because I recently had my Canadian book launch, which was like in person. So I got to go to the bookstore. I got to have like a conversation partner. And it was just really nice to see so many people come out and to celebrate the book like with me. So that's just been like super, super, sweet and nice. And I'm really hoping that, more in-person events can happen so that other authors can experience the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting how different it is, even though we are still in a pandemic. But I loved virtual events, but it's just not, it's like meeting your friends over Zoom versus meeting them in person. It's, yeah.
Yeah, not the same.
So I love your books, comps. They are Irish and the End of Time and Spirited Away. But what would you say is an unexpected comp title? What would you compare it to that people would be like, oh, it's like that?
I want to do a throwback and say Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. It's
Ooh.
classic, it's an old one, but it has those same like portal fantasy elements. So, a girl, finds her way into this, strange portal, ends up in a completely new place with all these, weird, odd creatures. And she has, some sort of task that she needs to do in this weird world. And so I think if you're a fan of Alice in Wonderland, you might actually really enjoy Nura.
Nice. Now I'm picturing like an animated movie in
Oh,
the in that
I've been
vein.
picturing that for so long. I hope. Fingers
Yes.
crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed. So what are some themes that you knew you wanted to explore in the beginning, like when you were first drafting, and which ones kind of snuck up on you?
Like my idea for the book actually came after I had watched a documentary on mica mining. So that's sort of where I learned about, how opaque the supply chain was, how unaware the rest of the world was about, mica and how, it was mined by children. And so after watching that documentary, I was really keen on opening up that discussion about child labor, get more people talking about it, see the types of situations that these kids are stuck in. And then what came later that, I had really no idea that I was writing was how that sort of narrowed down into or opened up into the theme of education and how important it was. And so I didn't know that that's where the story was taking me. But as you see these kids who are stuck in child labor and who, they're basically suppressing their dreams and their hopes and desires because they know they can't have the future that, kids like us would have had. And so for me, I wanted to tell people, or I wanted to, you know, describe how important education can be and how these kids who are working shouldn't be in those situations. They should be going to school and trying to make a better life for themselves so that they can dream bigger and that they can hope for something more.
I love that answer. Like, I've never seen that in a book before.
Oh,
So I love that I mean, I don't know if it has been discussed, but I've just personally never read a book that discusses child labor. So yeah. So this next one is a game. It is the fill in the blanks game. So the first book I loved was
Geronimo Stilton, I'll say.
the first book I bought with my own money was
Six of Crows, the box
Ooh.
set.
Ooh,
Yep.
nice. They're so pretty. I love those covers.
Mm.
My first book idea was,
Oh, it was a Frog Prince retelling. But
oh
that was
my
when I was like 6 years
goodness.
old.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. The song that reminds me the most of my book is,
Any of the Ghibli soundtracks, but mostly the Castle in the Sky soundtrack.
Hmm.
I,
Yes.
I wrote the book to that soundtrack, so it will always remind me of my book now.
Yes. Oh, lovely. If you were a book, what section of the bookstore would you live in?
Fantasy. I'm always there anyway. So
What's your favorite fantasy?
that's like asking what my favorite book is. So I don't think I would have one, but I would say like one of my, biggest inspirations for fantasy was always Lord of the Rings. So that one
Hmm.
definitely has a special place in my heart.
Nice. And lastly, what do you hope readers take away from Nora's story?
I hope that, people reading Nura and the Immortal Palace will, rekindle that sort of hope that they have inside of them that maybe they're suppressing because I know a lot of people are in, situations or going through obstacles that they see, no light at the end of the tunnel. And, Nura was somebody who felt the same way. She was sort of, you know, trapped by her situation and she felt like there was no way out of it. But I want to tell people that, keep on trying, don't give up, that, with enough hope and strength and motivation, that, there is a possibility that you can, overcome that situation that you're in. So I really hope that people just gain, that hope and can see themselves in Nura.
That is one of my favorite parts about reading, just like learning from the character
Mm,
and like finding bits of myself in the character. And even if I don't see any of myself in the character, I always love like, okay, like how does this impact me? I love
yeah, of
thinking about books like that. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a lovely, lovely
course.
chat.
And thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
But do you have any other things that you want to plug? Anything else you want to shout out?
I think I'll just talk a little bit about what's coming next. So I'm currently writing a companion novel for Nura. So a book set in the same universe, but it might be following a new cast of characters. And so if you enjoyed Nura and the Immortal Palace, I think you're gonna really enjoy this next book. So keep a lookout for it.
Okay, people at home, you listened. In the description below, I will leave MT's website and socials, as well as buy links for Nur and the Immortal Palace. Big, big shout out to Sydney, who helped coordinate this meeting. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you for joining me. It's been lovely. And we will see you in another one, hopefully soon. Bye.
Bye.